Hello and welcome to Brand Politics on iBrandTV. I am Bennett Joseph, and here on the program, we place priorities on the political events playing out in Nigeria, in Africa, and around the world. And it's still tensions are high in Nigeria following a Tuesday night shootout where members of the Nigerian military engaged with peaceful protesters at the Lekki toll gate in Lagos, Nigeria, which led to the loss of lives and properties and left many more injured. Tensions are high right now in the country, and lots of public affairs analysts and political analysts are lending their voices to the conversations. And one of those conversations has to do with protest in Nigeria and the rights of Nigerians to protest, and then within the context of the law. Earlier on, I spoke with legal practitioner Bumi Lawani, who was able to analyze protest in Nigeria within the context of the Nigerian Constitution. And here is all that she said. Take a listen. Thank you very much, Madam Bumi Lawani, legal practitioner, for agreeing to this moment to speak with iBrandTV. Thank you very much.
Thank you too.
Let's dive right into it. Now, in the wake of the SARS protest and the activities that has followed ever since, and now we want to look at protest in Nigeria, the rights and the law. You're a legal practitioner, and we know that sometimes the emotions that play out amongst ordinary people is not the same as perceived by legal practitioners, because it is believed that in your quarters, in your profession, you understand what the law is saying and you understand the rights of the people. Now, in the wake of the event that has played out with the emergence of the SARS protest, in your capacity as a legal practitioner, what does the Nigerian Constitution say about protest?
Okay, thank you. The Nigerian Constitution 1999 protects the right of every citizen to peaceful protest. That right is protected under Section 39 and 40 of the 1999 Constitution. Section 39 protects the right to freedom of expression, freedom of speech, your right to say whatever you want to say, that is agitating your mind or anything you are not comfortable with. Then Section 40, protect the right to peaceful assembly. That is enshrined under Chapter 4 of our Constitution. That chapter, it talks about the fundamental right of every citizen in Nigeria. So the protesters have this right to protest. Mind you, peaceful protest.
And so, ma'am, in your perspective, a lot of people think and hold the belief that the protest, the SARS protest, was largely peaceful. At the beginning at least. And maybe at some point, a few things went wrong. Now, from the legal perspective, I want you to be able to help establish that line between whether or not the protest was actually peaceful. What opinion do you hold with regards to the SARS protest for the time and the duration it lasted?
My opinion as a legal practitioner is that from the beginning, the protest was very peaceful. And I can say, me and my other colleagues were in support. I can see lawyers coming out and say when they were being arrested by police, lawyers kick against it that no, they have a right to protest and that police cannot be arresting them. In fact, we volunteered that we are going to take on any case pro bono of anybody being harassed or deterred or detained by the police, which we did at the beginning. Then subsequently, along the line, after a week, the hoodlums too came out. At that point, the protest was no longer peaceful, because at that point, they've started killing policemen, burning police stations, as we have now seen. Then, not only that, they've started stopping movements of people. The people being stopped on the highways to have a right under this constitution we are talking, yes, right to movement. And that right is now being infringed by the people that say they are exercising their own right too. To protest. So the situation was now becoming more of an oppression of other citizens of the country by these protesters. You know, unfortunately, at that point, we could no longer determine who are the peaceful protesters and who are these hoodlums. Because on the highway, I have an experience myself coming from Federal Court on Monday. We were stopped right under the bridge, you know, the stadium bridge for 6 hours.
By those who were protesting?
By those people that said they put barricades on the way and they said no movement. So at that point, that is an infringement on our own right too. We are all agitating. We are all protesting. You know, although all of us may not be on the road, you know, working with the protesters, but we are in solidarity with them, which was why most people put green leaves on their cars to say, we are with you.
We're in support.
We are in support of what you are doing.
Now, in the case that some protesters, however, feel like following the activities that played out on the night of the 20th of October 2020, where the Lagos State government, after the announcement of a curfew, also now brought out the members of the Nigerian military to engage with the peaceful protesters. Now, when that happened, a lot of Nigerians and many of us still hold the perception that that was also an infringement on the rights of those who were protesting. Now, it can be very dicey because once again, the government is saying, okay, let's allow tensions to go down a bit. Can peaceful protesters please disperse while government is trying to engage with the demands? At the same time, the protesters are saying, well, some protesters say, you cannot announce a curfew in the middle of a working day and expect that demands to be met. Now, that's why I say it can be very dicey. What's your take on what played out on that 20th of October 2020?
Okay, my take is that, you see, if the governor had wanted to declare curfew that day, you know, for 1 week, everybody goes about their businesses. That time, they will take one part of the road. We were still able to move, though slowly, and lots of, but everybody was still okay. Then by that Tuesday, you know, before that noon, when the governor had to come out and declare that curfew, the situation has, you know, is now deteriorating to a chaos and anarchy. By that time, 4 policemen were already dead, killed in a very gruesome way. 2 police stations burnt down, you know, and the governor felt, okay, let us cool down temper by now declaring a curfew. And mind you, let me tell you that declaring the curfew by the governor is within his power at that particular moment. This also is supported under the Constitution, Section 45 of the Constitution, gave the authority, that's the president or the governor, rights.
State.
Yes, especially when the situation is now becoming, you know, a public safety. Now, public safety is being threatened, public order, public morality. They have a right to step in at that point to maintain law and order. And it doesn't matter what time the curfew was declared. The curfew was declared around 12 to take effect 4 o'clock. They know that they needed to give time to people that are still stuck because we were not released under that bridge until 4 o'clock. But I got to my house 5 o'clock. The whole place was quiet, you know, on Ikeja, everywhere was quiet, and I got home. So at the point when the governor said there should be a curfew because of this so reason, the prudent thing for all protesters at that point, whose protest has now turned into violence, into many things which they can see by themselves, needed to go home.
Now,
not that I'm excusing what happened at the toll gate. I'm just telling you you know, that,
from a legal
yes,
perspective.
from the legal perspective, that the governor has a right
To have announced the curfew.
to have announced a curfew.
Now, let's say the Constitution supports the governor and gives the governor of the state or the president, especially when the issue of public safety is now being threatened.
Yes.
What about the use of military in engaging protesters? Does the Constitution also support that?
You see, that Section 45 I just spoke about gave the president the power, you know, because you see, where your rights begins or ends, another person's rights begin. Under that Section 45, sub 4, it referred to Section 305, which gave the president's right to proclaim. You know, he's the commander-in-chief of armed forces. So when all these are going on, public order is no longer in place, or war or anything, the president has the right to make a proclamation. That's to say, to curb and restore order. But we are not even saying it's the president that did what happened. A lot of gray areas are on what happened at the Lekki, because we are hearing so many stories, so many conclusions, so many that we right now we don't even know what is what. The governor has come out and said he is not the one.
Who gave the command?
We gave the command. The army said they were there, that it was the governor that gave the command. And the president, when he was addressing the country, didn't even say anything about that. So, you see, there are a lot of things, and thank God there is already an inquiry. Especially, we lawyers know that when a matter is under, you know, trial or an inquiry like that, we can't make any conclusion or assumption. So, I believe by the time they finish that inquiry, we will know what, and whoever is at fault will be dealt with according to the law. Because though there is a curfew and they needed to stop the protester or ask them to go home, there are other ways other than shooting that they could have employed. They could have shot tear gas, hot water. There are several ways to disperse protesters. You know, not carrying a gun.
Engagement. But then again, what does the Constitution say about how the government is supposed to engage with protesters? So far, what played out and what is still playing out, are you satisfied with how the federal government as well as the state government has managed the situation, or are you disappointed or indifferent?
Not indifferent, but I would say that I can understand both parties, the protesters, the government. You know, the government has been forced out with that condition, and they see things generating in front of them. They got videos of a policeman being burnt alive, killed in a very most inhumane way, police station being burnt. At that point, you know, probably they thought, oh, we must step in now to ensure that there's. Then the protesters, when they had curfew, you know, when there is a curfew, we know that military takes over. Yes, military takes over, and you know, these people, they don't listen to reasoning or the way they were trained. And that is what has generated into what we have seen today.
Do you think that the government should have acted a lot better or faster so that the events that played out with relation to how the military engaged with the protesters wouldn't have happened? Do you think they should have acted a lot faster?
Yes, I think they should have acted a lot faster. That is, this protest dragged for a very long time, almost
over 2 weeks.
They should have acted immediately. Government said they've disbanded SARS. But probably they were thinking, oh, because they too want good governance, all these things we are saying, they also want it to happen. It's a democratic government. So they felt, okay, they are our children, our youth, let them continue. There was no harm at that point. So I thought they should have acted then by stopping the. But if we don't know what will happen, even if they have acted then, that's trying to stop this protester. Because from what we can see a lot of forces behind both the protesters and what happened at the toll gates.
Do you think the lives were lost, the lives that were lost that night, at least the Amnesty International right now have come to say at least they can confirm that 2 persons died. Many were injured. Do you think that those victims will get justice within the Nigerian legal system? Because like you rightly said, Nigerians do have the right to protest, the right to live, the right to life. Do you think they will get justice?
Yes, I believe they will get justice.
Does the Nigerian legal system have the capacity to ensure that justice is gotten?
Of course. Not only them, even the police officers, they were killed too. They deserve justice too. They were doing their work, their lawful job. They were not supposed to be killed like that for whatever reason. We are fighting SARS. SARS, I'm sure most of them are not even on the road now. They must have taken cover. And we don't even know who was who. So there is no sense in applying jungle justice anywhere. We are not like the animals in the zoo. We are human beings. If government allow jungle justice to go on, there will be more chaos. Me and you, our life are not safe. Where there is break of law and order, believe me, no life is safe.
But it still seems like there's still so much tension in the air. What must the government now do going forward to manage the tension and also to ensure that things like this are not things that we hope to happen again? It should never happen again.
Well, I believe by now they should know that most of the things they are doing, even though we have not been saying anything over the years, we can see it clearly. The fact that they have not been challenged in their corrupt ways, inflation of budgets, inflation of contracts, giving contracts with their family members, people are watching. And if they continue after what has happened now, at least the answers has let us all face one direction, that there must be change in the way we do things at every level of governance.
How about the protesters now, those who, because to protest is a civil right. Now, what would be your advice to Nigerians, especially going forward, who would be considering to exercise this civil right to protest against either bad governance or issues affecting the country? What are those aspects of the law that they must always consider, analyze, and understand before hitting to the streets to protest?
Okay, thank you for that question. You see, in any democratic dispensation country, people must have the right to protest. That right must not be denied, because that is what we hate our growth and development. It's unfortunate that I don't know what happened. They don't know when to now say stop. I think that is the biggest problem, and that is what has affected this NSAS protest. At the point where they notice that these miscreants are blocking the road, have infiltrated, they withdraw and regroup later. You understand what I'm saying? They can even find like the stadium somewhere safe.
Common ground.
Yeah, it's a common ground to continue their protests. You see, what actually makes the whole thing messy and turn out this way is because they now hold other citizens to ransom. You need to see these guys I saw on that Tuesday. They were so high on themselves that they were thinking they are untouchable. And I was telling them, you cannot stop us here. Why? Because you want to protest? we are all protesting. I may not be on the road with you. So at that point, they should know that, no, this thing is getting out of hand. Then withdraw, so that government can now be able to arrest all those people that now flouting the law. Yes. So we must continue to have our right to protest. We must protest when any injustice is being done. And you see, another thing they fail to appreciate is that every protest or agitation must end on the round table. Yes, negotiation. At the point when government will now say, okay, we are ready to listen to all your demands. Appoint a leader, let's have a round table. That is the final destination. And that is where they were supposed to have put all these demands and give them a timeline.
To deliver? To
deliver. We give you 6 months. If you don't do it, we'll come out again. That is a very decent, organized protest.
Now, you are a legal practitioner. Are you satisfied with how lawyers and members of the Nigerian judiciary, including the NBA, have expressed their opinions so far and how they've been able to be a part of the events that have played out as a result of the NSAS protest? Are you satisfied that your colleagues in the legal practice have done enough for Nigeria and for Nigerians?
Okay. You see, we legal practitioners act to our body. That's the Nigerian Bar Association. So we can't act alone. We may act individually, personally, probably like the pro bono thing. Somebody called me ICO. But when we want to speak against any government action or any action whatsoever, we always do that through that body, NBA. I must say that they have not really done much. As addressing this protest and all. We've not had any much opinions coming from that angle. So I believe probably in the time of this reconciliation, they may now come in, because really that's when they can actually make any impact. So my belief is that they will try and make an impact to make sure that those who were victims get justice, and those who were the perpetrators get their punishment. So I'm hoping that they will do more in that regard. Legal practitioner
Bumi Lawani, thank you very much for speaking to iBrandTV on protest in Nigeria and the rights and the law. We really appreciate, and we look forward to having more of these kinds of conversations to help keep us abreast on what the rights of Nigerians are and how we are supposed to conduct ourselves going forward. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure.
Thank you very much. Interesting conversation from legal practitioner Bumi Lawani, who analyzed protests in Nigeria within the context of the Nigerian Constitution and how Nigerians should be able to engage with the government going forward, especially when the civil rights of protest is being employed. Of course, you can watch this episode of the program on our YouTube channel, on iBrandTV. Like and follow all of our social media platforms. And for more news stories, do visit our website on www.ibrandtv.com. I'm Bennett Joseph, and I'll see you again. Cheers.